Hello, lovelies. I had a question from one of my yoga stream students asking, how do I get my core strong enough for low boat? So if you practice with me for any kind of time, you know what a low boat is because you know I'm so core fixated. Anyway, a low boat is basically this. Now, the important bit is my lower spine is on the mat, so my belly and my core muscles are working really, really hard. Now, I have a very, very strong core, so my legs can be all the way down here. This is not necessarily normal though. So to start with, don't feel too hard on yourself. If your legs are up here, even if you need to bend your legs a little bit, that's a great place to start. Always let your focus be getting that lower spine onto the belly, onto the mat. Simply because that way, if we have that natural curve in the spine when we're lying down, so like if you lie down, put a hand underneath your lower back here. We don't want that because if you do this and do a lot of core work, you're basically moving it from here and from this corset band of muscles that we have into your back muscles. And we don't want that because you're just going to end up with a sore back. So, speaking about the corset muscles, so we have this lower band of muscles that basically goes all the way around, hence corset, and they're underneath what we like to kind of define as the six pack. And they're super, super important because these are the stabilizing muscles and they stabilize your spine. And they are important in every movement you make, basically. So if they are dysfunctional or weak, you will most likely end up with problems with your back, with your pelvis, and a shitload of other things. Anyway, so a good way to, because these are deep muscles, you're not necessarily aware whether you're actually engaging them or not. So I want you to come into like a little lunge, and then I want you to find your hip points, and you're just going to walk your hands or your fingers in like a couple of centimeters on inch, and then down a couple of centimeters on inch. And here, can you engage this? I'm engaging it now. So it becomes like a little strong wall. These are those lower corset muscles. So these are the ones we want to engage. Is this like kind of little wall we have protecting everything from just falling out? Anyway, so those are the muscles we want to strengthen. So if you are not quite ready for low boat, here are a few good ones. One I love, and it's literally my daily yoga practice, is come down onto your back. And again, lower back comes down on the mat. So you're going to feel that. Check yourself. Belly button down towards the ground. You're just curling your head and shoulder up. Point your fingertips down towards your toes. And you just want you to do little micro pulses. Pulse, 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 pulse. This is such a nice little strengthener. And if you have really weak muscles, it's doable. And I do about 3 sets of 30. Next exercise, take your legs up. And again, lower spine on the mat. Fingertips behind your head and just kind of curl your head and shoulders off the ground. And then I want you to, again, we're moving in the micro movements. I just want you to lift your sacrum off the mat. So just lift up and up and up. And again, a good amount, 3 sets of 30. It's a good place. You'll definitely feel it afterwards especially if your core is weak, but you can totally do it. Another one that's good. So a good one for building up general stability in your core is challenge your balance. One I often do in my yoga classes is come into a modified side plank here. And you might have been in a yoga class and been told it's like, oh, if you want to stabilize the pose, just move that lower leg out to the side. I don't want you to stabilize the pose. So don't do that. And then lift the leg, arm over your head, and you might notice like, oh, I'm wobbling. That's what we want. Wobbling is good. Wobbling is like when you're using your whole body to stabilize. That's great. And then just take your knee and elbow together and open and keep going. Nice and slow, but really embrace the wobbling. And you'll notice in my classes, I do a lot of balancing. I'll do a lot of like stuff like this, standing on one leg, moving whilst on one leg, because it is so good for us. And it really builds up those deeper muscles that we don't necessarily address in a normal exercise regime. One more that's great for those deeper muscles. And this is kind of fun. And you would look at it and think, well, that's not hard. It's hard. You guys are going to come into a boat-like position. When you're in a boat, I really want you to focus on not having this, like not collapsing in your lower back. So lift from your heart, lengthen from your crown. And your legs, I want them a little bit lower than they normally are. So like here, arms over your head. And then I just want you to roll back. Woo! And just roll back and forth like this. It's a lot harder than it looks. And this is great for strengthening those stabilizers. So there, those are some great tools to get started with to strengthen that core, and eventually you will be ready for that low boat. But also remember, that low boat, it does not have to look like mine. Understand, I do a fuckload of core work. I didn't say that. But so your low boat can totally look like this. Your low boat can totally look like this. Just focus on that lower spine to the mat, belly button down towards the mat. That's your priority, and you're good. Hope this has been helpful. And always, if you have questions, always feel free to ask.